Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks.
We'll start with Ed, and then we'll go to Ruben.
Yeah, hi, Nick.
Yeah.
I ask you about turnovers. A lot of talk yesterday about how you're showing clips of turnovers throughout the league, and you spoke about it. But what was kind of the impetus to that? Is that a recent coaching tool that you've implemented here? And where did the idea come from?
No, we've been doing that. That's part of our process that we do. We've been doing that since Indy. A lot of different things play into that. We have a meeting on the way teams create turnovers. That Jamal Singleton runs on Thursdays. And then we always after each practice look at our ball security, the way we're taking care of it, and the way we're coming after it. So that's in every team meeting. Emphasis on that. And then Saturdays, we always show the things from around the league. Again, we don't show every single turnover, but the ones that make sense for us to, and the ones we need to learn from. So anywhere from 10, 15 clips or whatever it is. And it's just so it's always on their mind. We know, again, it goes back to, we talk a lot about winning the double positive, winning the turnover battle, winning the explosive play battle. And it's just something that we emphasize. We've always emphasized. You guys have seen the posters and the banners in our team room of emphasizing that. It's just we want it to always be on their mind. I think now we're 23-1 when since 2021 when we win the turnover battle. So we know for us it's a huge stat. I mean, it's for every team it's a huge stat, but even more so for us. Because we're above the league average as far as 23-1 when we win that turnover battle. So we're constantly trying to think of new ways to teach it. We constantly try to think of new ways to implement it, and those are some of the things right there. And I think I'm glad I think what happens too is I'm glad the players are talking about that in this sense of, hey, we watch this all the time because it's etched in their mind, and that's what you want. If a play, like I said to you guys last night, if a play happens in any football game that they're watching, Thursday night, Monday night, during college football, they're texting back and forth saying, hey, this guy's got to get the ball in the right hand or whatever it is. So that's what you want. That's when you got your culture going the way you want it to go, is when it's constant. All those things like that are constantly on their mind, and it sounds like that's the case.
We'll go to Ruben, and then Chris.
Hey, Nick, hope you got a little sleep overnight. Hey, what goes into you have so many new pieces in the secondary, a couple rookies. CJ wasn't here last year. Isaiah's been playing snaps. What goes into that group being so new and playing so well together?
Yeah. First, Vic has everybody on the same page of, what's required, what's expected, how he wants things to play versus different looks. And then you got your position coaches with CP and Joe Casper and Roy, getting these guys, in the room to be on the same page. And I think that's such a big part. Obviously, we're talented there. We have talented players there with the addition of the new guys that we have. And Reed and Slay being the holdovers, and Avante that have been here. But they've worked really hard to be on the same page. One of the easiest ways to get beat in the secondary, in my opinion, is not one-on-one matchups. One of the easiest ways to give up plays is when you're not all on the same page. We work really hard to do that. And these guys are connected back there. And again, the more you're connected as a football team, the more it's going to show on the field, through their celebrations, and then also through them being on the same page. Obviously these guys have come in and are good football players, but then just constant work of, being back there together as one. The rookies, they've really flexed their muscles as they've went with Q and Coop. And it's just a nice mix of veteran leadership. With Slay's one of the best leaders that we have on this football team. So it's the combination of the veteran leadership, with the middle group as far as the guys that have played 4, 5, 6 years in the league to the young guys.
Thank you.
We'll go to Chris, and then Jeff.
Afternoon, Nick. It's a third straight year now. You guys have had at least a win streak of at least 5 games. What's something, I know personnel changes over time, but what's something that you've learned about this current group that you have right now during that win streak, and how do you guys maintain this over the rest of the year?
Yeah, we're just worried about the next one, and I think that's all you can do is like no one's thinking about a win streak when it's the first game, and you shouldn't be thinking about it in the fifth game. You just want to continue to play good football, and so and wins clump together as they have. Again, though, we don't think about it that much. We don't think about about that portion of it because we're constantly in the moment of where we are. And this week, you don't got time at all to think about a win streak this week because it's such a quick turnaround to our next game against a really good opponent. And so our focus is on getting better every day. If you can string some wins together as you do that, that's ideal. But getting better every day through the good things that we do and then also the mistakes that we do.
We'll go to Jeff and then John.
Hey, Nick, I know this may be low on your list of concerns, but Devonta Smith averaged 9.5 targets in the first 3 games, and since the bye, that number is cut. It's actually in half. How do you juggle, the fact that your offense is thriving versus not getting one of your better players as involved as you probably would like to?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. Obviously, it's always in our thought process to get them the ball. Three of these last games. Or 3 of the last 4 games have been really heavy run in the second half because of the leads that we had and probably more so I think if you add all the snaps up that Devonta hasn't played in that portion, he hasn't played a lot in that portion of the game. Obviously got to take a lot of the guys out yesterday with rest, but it's still on our mind to get him the ball. It's still on our mind to get AJ the ball. It's still on our mind to get Dallas the football, right? And there's going to be games where it's going to have to go that way. And right now we have a formula of how we're winning. We want to continue on that, but also know that we have a lot of different pieces to be able to win different ways. And so I just think about the opportunities that Devonta has gotten. He's really taken advantage of. Obviously, a huge play last game against Jacksonville to help us win that football game on a 3rd and 20. Had a big time 3rd down catch in that game as well. And so, Devonta was our player of the game, I believe, that the game before because of how good he played with the football in his hands and when the football went to him and also when it wasn't going to him. And so, he is such a good teammate and such a selfless teammate that he's blocking his butt off and doing things to change the game when the ball's not coming to him. And so that's just something that happens through the ebbs and flows of the season where, sometimes you're getting a bunch of targets and sometimes you're not. And we know that to be the team that we want to be and to be the successful team we want to be, Devonta Smith has to play a huge role in the offense, and he will as we continue forward.
We'll go to John and then Tim.
Hey, Nick. You mentioned a little bit about the short week. As much as you can you take us into the preparation of this week versus a normal Sunday, Monday week and how things change, or is it that drastic?
Yeah, it's obviously drastic. I mean, you'd say you whatever, let's say 100-hour work week, and now you got to do it in 4 days because you can't be like, oh, I'm going to skip this week or I'm going to skip that this week. It's all the same amount of work has to be put in. Some coaches, and everybody, you don't meet 100% of the time all together. There's portions of the week where you're preparing on your own and then coming together to kind of talk about what you learned on your own. And so some coaches, all coaches are a little bit different. Some coaches will do it all in the week or, on the flight home, or some will do it in the week before, in the little bit of free time that they have there. So, but no steps are ever skipped. So it's just everything gets crammed into a shorter amount of time. And so that's what we're working through right now is, I think a lot of guys will have big bags under our eyes at the end of the week, but we got to do what we need to do as coaches to get the guys ready. What's important is that the players are ready to go, that they're rested, as much as they possibly can be. And like I said, it doesn't matter how our coaches feel. We just got to get the work done and get these guys prepared as much as we possibly can and be thinking sharp. And we can sleep a little later in the week when thinking sharp on game day and as we lead up here. So it's always I always think that these Thursday night games, I know they're a pain in the butt to prepare for. They're a pain in the butt for the players to turn around. I really have so much respect for the players that they have to turn around and do the things they have to do. But as a coach, I feel like there's like Kevin Patullo and I were talking about a couple of the Thursday night games that we've had in the past and the week leading up to it, leading up to the game and the stories that we have. I always think it's a cool bonding thing for the coaches. We're spending a lot. I won't see my kids very much this week or my wife very much this week, but I sure will see Kevin Patullo a lot and Kellen Moore a lot and Vic Fangio a lot. But I always think there's always cool stories that come out of that, and that's the cool part of the journey, that you're grinding together for a common good, a common goal, and you'll remember those things. These are the things that are so cool about being part of a football team. And so we'll make some memories this week, but ultimately have to go out there and play a good game against a good opponent.
We'll go to Tim and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, how much have you been able to look at Jaden Daniels and what is he showing you in his short time in the NFL?
Yeah, obviously you see him on crossover tape. Early on in this week, I'll be watching a lot more of the Commanders' defense, and then get caught up on the offense on their offense as I meet with the defense and things like that. But obviously he's came out on fire. He's got his team playing really well. Hats off to their coaches. And I just got a lot of respect for that coaching staff and the players on that team. And he's playing really good football. It's very obvious. I think everybody can see that. Really good player who's started off on fire. So we'll have a challenge here this week. But can't say enough good things about him. How he's going to the right place with the football, being accurate, the things he can do when he does, when things do break down. Yeah, a lot of respect for him, and we'll have our hands full.
We'll go to Martin and then Dave.
Hey, Nick. Obviously, yesterday was kind of like a light, quote unquote, light workload day for Saquon Barkley. I was just wondering, obviously you wanted to get him rest, and you did. But are you still able to see his impact on the rest of the offense when he's not touching the ball as often as he has been in the past?
Yeah, definitely. Because people have to be alert of your playmakers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Smitty. With Jeff's question about Smitty, even though he's not touching the ball, he's still making an impact, right? I think that's the same thing can be said for a good defensive player. Oh, he didn't get a sack, but he's still impacting the game because all the resources that are going to prevent him from getting a sack. So 1,000%, that's what good players. This league is your good player is really based off of the matchups that you get and stopping, and trying to prevent good players from beating you. And that's not just our theory. It's probably everybody's theory across the NFL. And so when you devote resources to stop one guy, another guy, something else opens up. That's our job as coaches to figure out, hey, this is what they're doing to stop this and get to that. And so, yeah, Saquon big time has an impact on the game even when he's not touching the ball or just even when he's on the field. And really, even when he's not on the field, because there's always a threat of him, being able to make a play, and they don't know when he's going to be on there and when he's not going to be on there, so they got to call the game accordingly.
We'll go to Dave and then Bob.
Hey, Nick, when it comes to scramble drills, what do you think are the biggest keys to be successful there?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dave. There's a lot of things. I think without giving away too many of our secrets, the best way to explain it in my end is kind of like in basketball, you're trying to space the court and find the open spots, and free yourself up, right? And so, you don't want to get two guys in the same spot, right? You want to make the defense cover the entire field, and so it's about space distribution with the receivers. There's different things that you do to free yourself up. You got to be aware of the boundary so you don't get pushed out of the bounds. But there's different ways to free yourself up to unlock against a guy that's covering you. And then it's really just like, hey, you're playing. That's how come we all grew up playing football. When we go to to somebody's yard and there wasn't any plays drawn up there. It was somebody running around. You'd count to 5 Mississippi, and then the guy would come and rush it, and you'd run around, and everyone would try to free up. So it's just trying to find space in there. And find ways to get the ball. And then, with Jalen, I think what Jalen's done a really nice job of is escaping different ways, escaping around the pocket, both right and left, escaping up through the pocket. And so, which makes it very difficult for the defense. And feels like we've made a lot of plays, particularly yesterday, on our scramble drills. That's something that we work all the time at practice. That's always an emphasis of ours at practice because we know those plays lead to explosives, and we also know those plays kind of come up at you can't explain when they're going to come up. They're going to happen when you're off rhythm and not on time. It's the second play, and so we put a lot of emphasis on that. We put a lot of emphasis on our rules on what our rules are there. And the guys have done a really nice job executing, starting with Jalen and the guys distributing themselves throughout the field to get themselves open.
I'll go to Bob and then Zach.
Hey, Nick, could you describe the job that Johan has done since he's been here, and how big of an adjustment has it been for him? He was targeted a lot when he was the Commanders, and obviously he probably knew that was going to change some, but can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job. Obviously, the last 2 weeks, he's made some really big-time plays, explosive plays for us. And coming off each game, I've seen him play. He hasn't got as many touches as he's gotten in his past, but I think that's the nature of the third receiver here is again Devonta and AJ are going to be the two receivers that get the most thrown to them, and so that's always tricky because you have to be able to take advantage of the opportunities you get. Johan's used to in college and even at Washington, 5, 6, 7 targets a game. Well, maybe you're only going to get 1, 2, 3 targets a game here, and what are you going to do with those opportunities? And I think that the guys that take advantage of their opportunities, are the ones that get rewarded with more opportunities. And so, that's certainly a case, with Johan as Jalen continues to trust him, as the coaching staff continues to trust him. But it's really a tribute to him and the player and the person that he is because that's not easy, to have all those opportunities and then all of a sudden not. You really got to. Again, it comes down to moving on, play the next play. Yeah, you might not have got the play here, but you never know when the play is coming to you. And to be able to make it and take advantage of those 1, 2, 3 opportunities you get a game. And Johan these last couple of weeks has done a really nice job of that. What's unnoticed probably about Johan is when he runs off, the space on the field that he can create with his vertical speed. He has a handful in the last couple of games too of really nice blocks that have set some runs off and some bubbles and some different things, some screens and stuff like that off. And so we're pleased with how he's playing. He's playing tough. He's playing physical. He's playing, and taking advantage of those opportunities. So he needs to continue that, and we expect him to continue that. And I'm really excited that he's part of this football team.
We'll go to Zach and then Bo.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. Is Jordan Mailata a possibility for Thursday night? And if so, how do you ascertain his readiness in a week of walkthroughs?
Yeah, good question, Zach. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this week goes of putting him in positions to see if he can do some things. Obviously we'll have to be creative there, knowing that we will be doing walkthroughs. There's some different things we'll do later in the week that will be a little bit more than walkthrough to help with that as well, to get their bodies going. So we'll have to be creative with that with Jordan. I think one thing that will be, even though we're doing walkthroughs, we'll still have some individual periods at times, you know, to get the guys going. Again, just so their bodies are moving. So those will be opportunities for him to do that. But like I said, we'll see where he is by the end of the week. We don't have to make a decision now. We have time. Excited that he has the possibility to be back. But, you know, again, Fred's done a nice job. And we'll play it by ear. If Jordan's not ready, he won't go. If he's ready, he'll go. So we'll see where we are at the end of the week.
We'll finish with Bo here.
Hey, Nick, just curious what your conversations were like with Cliff when you were interviewing him for the OC position.
Yeah, a lot of respect for him. You know, he's been a really good coach at different levels for a long time, and then respect that you know, him being the former player, quarterback. Got a lot of respect always for former quarterbacks that become coaches. You know, and how they've seen the game and how they can relate to the game. Thought he was outstanding in the interview. You know, obviously chose Kellen in our particular case, but both guys were great. Were both great possibilities to say, and so a lot of respect for Cliff and the job that he's done to date in Washington and his career as a whole.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, guys.